together and they come up with some great things. So.
Yeah, absolutely, man. He act, I know in the other space, Black Hat, they were sending us messages as well about trying to go ahead and get everything straightened out. And me and DJ last night, we was going back and forth. We had to go another route with the APK, and we was able to get that going. So yeah, I'm glad to have our people up here, and hopefully we won't have the issues that we had trying to bring up co-hosts and speakers as well too. So for those that haven't, man, y'all definitely got to go ahead. It's a glitch in the actual Google Play Store right now. That's why everybody's not able to come up here and speak and co-host and stuff. So you're going to have to look at an alternate way of actually trying to get up here, whether that's going through the Samsung store or going through that APK. Because if you're having some issues, that's exactly what it is. So, but I'm glad to have you up here, Professor, as well, too. Shout out to Baby Sister as well. How you doing, Baby Sister? I see you up in the space as well, too. Shout out to you, MF. Shout out to my girl, Re-Ra. And yeah, man, like I said, we got to touch up on this, Bill Maher. We got to touch up on Bill Maher. We got to speak up on him, Bill Maher, the consummate liberal. But y'all see, and no matter what all that liberal games they be playing, at the end of the day, and Fox News was applauding him and everything. And Baby Sister, you up here, so I'm glad to see it. But at the end of the game, Fox News, as much as they can't stand the liberals and the smart mouth and this and that, they was all able to get on code with Bill Maher, and they talk about he brought a blowtorch to the reparation movement. They was absolutely loving that. So it's like not surprising just because Bill Maher sleep with black women and stuff like that and smoke weed. At the end of the day, he's still who he is. So I know that was a wake-up call for a lot of black people as well, too. Like, I thought Bill Maher was on our team. Like, you thought wrong.
Yeah, that's your thing. Never been on our side. He's never been on our side.
Professor, I'm sorry to interrupt. Hey, it took me a minute to get in, so if anybody wants to be a speaker, they better do it now because I had a hard time keeping from stop. So I'm not going to speak, but if somebody wants to be a speaker later on, they better do it now.
All right, thank
What's
you.
up, baby sister?
What's going on, Baby Sister? How you doing tonight?
Not letting people get picked up for speakers. So if Black wants to be a speaker later on, he better do it now because I had a hard time getting in. That's all I'm saying. So I'm going to go back to listening, but I'll still stay speaker.
Okay, no problem. Appreciate it. Professor's been having a hard time, and he was able to get up today with no issue. So, on that end, it may be something that they're gonna have to do with their phone, Baby Sister, because we had to do that. I had to do that last night, and was able to finally get it to the point where I was able to speak in black majority of space and able to bring people up and a little test we did. So, yeah, it just may have to do something with your phone as well too. But yeah, getting back to Bill Maher, man, like all this liberal talk and all this buddy talk and all this that I grew up listening to the soul music of the 60s, and I was a love child, and I've dated outside of my race and all this other nonsense. When they get right down to it, like I say, him and them rednecks on Fox was all able to applaud each other and stuff. So they're able to get down to the nitty gritty, and the nitty gritty is this right here. And Tony, I saw you said that too, Bill Maher and stuff. Like, he doesn't have a problem when his people get reparations, but he doesn't have a problem when the Jewish community get things and stuff given to them. But now it's a big issue with the actual reparation thing. And no matter what the dollar amount is, let's get this clear. I know $5 million is a lot of money, but no matter what the dollar amount is, it's going to be an issue. If they said we're going to give black people $10,000 in this country, you're going to have people up in arms pissed off for $10,000. So no matter what the amount is, you're going to have a bunch of upset, mad, pissed off people. So you might as well go ahead and get used to it. And you might as well go ahead and develop what they call thick and tough skin, because at the end of the day, you're going to have all kind of insults hurled at you. I read the other night, some of the 10,000, you couldn't possibly cover all 10,000 comments that was just anti-black on Yahoo when that San Francisco reparation article came out. Over 10,000 comments Yahoo had, and you better believe that they were all negative. And we just covered up some of those as well, too. And like I said, the whole thing with OMB, it's about to happen one way or another. I don't know what the definition for black people going to be, but like I said, you have too many different racial groups, ethnic groups that are saying that we're not being identified. They're saying that it's affecting us in terms of how we're being treated politically in this country. You're having Hispanics that want to change things up. You're having Middle Easterners that want to change things up. You have Black Americans that want to change things up. You have the Jewish community want to change things up. People want to go from religion to ethnic and race to this and that. So it's definitely about to happen. It's definitely about to go down. So I'm glad to have my people coming up in the space for this Sunday night as well too. Let me give a shout out to my girl Trouble. I see her down there. Shout out to Afro Bubble. Shout out to my girl Chantel. I see her down there as well too. Some of our people coming up in here. Shout out to you, Eastwood. Shout out to Black Facts. Shout out to Tech. Shout out to our people coming up in here. Detroit's Last Line. What's up, y'all? What's up? Y'all go ahead and tweet this space out as well tonight, too. We're going to go ahead. We're going to converse. I wanted to read an article. Naheem's name was actually up in the article. Got to look at the actual source that it came from. But Naheem's name was up in there. And like I say, it's getting to that point, y'all. Like the actual racial ethnic boxes 2024, they about to get checked. Okay. Whether we're going to go back to being called Black Americans, African Americans, Negro, freedmen, whatever, it's going to get checked. You know why it's going to get checked? Because other groups are going to get checked as well, too. And you can't ignore it. They have to do something in this country. So let me go ahead and touch upon that. Professor, you want to say anything real quick? You a baby sister before we go ahead and start it up. And anybody wants to come up and speak, go ahead and request to speak. Leon, what's up? I see you up in here as well, too. Shout out to you.
I'm just going to say shout out to everybody in the space. It's good to see Dad's Sister Trouble. There she go. Sister Rera. I see Sister Apple Bubbles down there. Baby sister, of course, Sister Tony. Of course, my brother Black Majority right there. Brother Leon. I see Leon. He got a new avatar right there. I almost didn't know who he was. Just shout out to you, Newstoter, always, my brother. But I'm glad to finally be back up in the space here, man. And I had to take a little bit of a hiatus. Family issues again, everybody. That's something that we have to take care of. Our families and our mental health, and we have to deal with that stuff. And then once you feel like you've gotten to a good point there, you can come back and spend time with the extended family. And that's what I call you guys, my extended family, my extended Black American family. I call this room also the Newstoter family, because this is the family of truth here in this space. This space right here is all about information and trying to find solutions and making sure that we stay up to date on current events and deal with our history too, of course. So I know this is going to be another great space, and I'm glad to see everybody in the space tonight.
Absolutely. Let me
I want to say, Newstoter, is let's take names and kick ass, and let's twist these crackers' caps back. Let's do this.
Oh, well, we're going to certainly try tonight. We're going to certainly try. We certainly going to try tonight. Let's go ahead and get into it. That's the way. That's how you do the little sound off right there. Let's go ahead and get into it. I guess I'll start with old Bill Maher first right here. The article's up in the Jumbotron that says Bill Maher torches San Francisco's crazy reparations plan. This is madness. Of course, Bill Maher and Fox News was having a good old chuckle up about it as well too. It says let me catch up in, and y'all, I'm gonna go straight to the actual Fox News. So forgive me as I got to try to bob and weave through some of these pop-ups and these ads coming up as well too. It was curator Newstoter.com platform. It's up in the Jumbotron on the far right-hand side, guys. If you see it, you go ahead and read it on your own if you want to. You can also retweet it out. I'm just going to go ahead and paraphrase a little bit of it. It says, real-time host Bill Maher took a blowtorch to San Francisco's crazy reparations plan that would give Black residents millions of dollars. During the panel discussion on Friday night with former presidential candidate Andrew Yang, Maher asked if the reparation proposal is going too far for saying quite a lot to give each Black resident $5 million. Even I didn't go this far, Yang quipped, alluding to his universal basic income policy he ran on in 2020. I mean, it seems like, when people ask, why are you talking against the woke craziness? Because it's crazy. Isn't that crazy, Maher said? And by the way, San Francisco doesn't have a history of slavery or anything like that, It would cost every citizen left $600,000 each. This is madness, is it not? Yang chalked up the proposal as being a political statement, telling Maher, we have a lot of people at various stages of public office who are putting out bills and policies that are more for messaging and stoking the fires on social media than actually trying to get something passed. The HBO star also addressed the turmoil that erupted at Stanford University, where progressive law students shouted down Trump-appointed federal judge Kyle Duncan, who was invited to speak on campus, but the disruption was supported by the law school's Dean of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Tyan Stanback. In a clip shown by Maher, Stanback is heard asking Duncan, is it worth the pain that this causes? Is it worth the pain? Is free speech worth the pain? And is it really painful? Is it really painful? If you don't like this guy, you don't go to his lecture, Maher exclaimed. Let me go ahead and click this read more a little bit, y'all. Hold on one second. Like I said, you got to deal with these pop-ups and everything else when you on these actual sites as well, too. So give me 1 second. Got to deal with all of the pop-ups. Slocum responded by insisting that college campuses should be a place for free speech regardless of their politics, but knocked Duncan as being a little bit of a fragile flower. I mean, push through, man, like just keep, Slogan said. It was impossible. Maher pushed back. You don't have a problem if the officer of the university is up there and defends the hecklers and did not the speaker, because that's what she did. She defended the hecklers, not the speakers. So just to cut a long story short, because I don't want to go through all this. The main point we was talking about was Bill Maher. You also had Andrew Yang up there. Andrew Yang, who ran on the premise of actually universal income, was even saying that, hey, this is going too far. Trying basically saying that, the whole thing about actually trying to get something like this passed is basically just trying to work on people's emotions and not really about actual real bills that can get passed. So it didn't take Yang long to get in there. Bill Maher, not surprising that he would say something like that. Like I say, the article went from Bill Maher. It just had like a brief little thing about him talking about it to, what's going on at Stanford. I just wanted to touch upon actually what was up with Bill Maher. I'm not really worried about the other thing at this point. Free speech. We all know that free speech is limited in this country. There's no such thing as completely free speech. You're limited in what you can and can't say to a certain degree, no matter what people tell you. So my thing is that Bill Maher, and I think, Tony, you pointed out earlier in the article and one of your tweets that he may have been raised Catholic, but he was also Jewish as well, too. I don't know about his actual background. I just thought he was a regular Jewish person. But Bill Maher, like I said, he said a lot of slick stuff over the years with black people, even though you can't tell him that he's not the best friends of the black community, because he can hum some Motown tunes and he dates black women here and there. And, he smokes a little bit of weed. So he's an honorary black in his own mind. He feels that he'll tell you that he knows the culture as well as you know it. So not surprising that Bill Maher will feel this way. Not surprising that Andrew Yang will feel this way as either. I mean, like I say, Andrew Yang, it doesn't, you get these people together and their true feelings start to come out. Fox, who's always been critical of Bill Maher, they're showering him with praises because they like what he's saying. They like the whole title that he put a blowtorch to reparations. Well, he can put a blowtorch to anything. I mean, I could have told you that Bill Maher was going to be against reparations. I can tell you that a lot of liberals are going to be against reparations. I don't need Fox News, or I don't need MSNBC. I don't need any of them to tell me that, because even though a lot of them laugh and smile in your face and tell you that, they're in the struggle right there with you, a lot of these people don't want to see you elevated, your community elevated. Bill Maher didn't say anything that anybody in here didn't already know, already feel. Like I said, and that's something that a lot of black people need to realize. Just because you jump in that bed with somebody that's white, when you get out, you still black at the end of the day. And we got a lot of people, some of them on Twitter and stuff like that as well, too, sleeping white, and then thinking that, once I get up out that bed, everything is different. But no, it's not different. At the end of the day, you're still a black person, be it a black man or a black woman, no matter who you lay down with. And that could be any race on this planet. So exactly what Bill Maher said, it holds no merit to me. And just every section in this country has something to do with slavery. And I know he said they didn't have slaves, they didn't have this, they didn't have that. I guess they didn't have anything over there in San Francisco. I guess it was just a great mecca. It's a reason why you had the percentage of black people that's dropped in that city to what you got right now today. So not a big surprise that Bill Maher would run his mouth and say something stupid, say something like this, and he's not done yet either. He's got the attention. Expect more liberals in Hollywood to come out as well too, and to go ahead as this thing gets closer and closer. And I know Black Majority was saying last night, what did Black say? I'm trying to put it out. I want to make sure I got you right, Black, because I know you were saying that you believe that the number was, was indeed used to like gain attention. Not saying that number may not be the accurate number, or it could be higher or whatever, but people put it was made as a statement, so people would look at it and take this as a serious issue here too as well. So whether we actually the people in San Francisco actually see $5 million or $3 million or $2 million or whatever, when that actual when that task force put out that recommendation, or when that $5 million started floating around, that gained attention. People saw that, and that's making people talk right now. The whole important thing is making people talk about what's actually a possibility in this country. It may not get to $5 million. It may only be $100,000 or $500,000 or whatever. But the whole thing is to get people actually talking about something that, for the most part, they never would talk about, and now they're being forced to talk about it. So that's all I pretty much want to say on that part right now. Professor, I don't know if you may want to say something. Baby sister, you may want to say something. Anybody else may want to say something. You can come on up here and say something. Does Bill Maher still, to y'all knowledge, does he still have that show on HBO? Because I know that show was a long time ago. Does that show still come on? Does anybody know?
He is lost and played out. I think Newstoter, people are surprised to say, "Oh, I thought Bill was down for us." It's because he has us in his audience, and I think we get that false sense of he's just like freaking Maury, nothing but black baby drama, and he hasn't said anything about reparations, but if he says anything, that's kind of off color, I wonder if we would kick his ass to the curb. So these people who think that they're cool with us because they let us around them, they have this false sense of, I can say whatever I want to say, and just deal with it. And I'm surprised. I'm sorry that I surprised you that I am racist. It's like you said, it's no big ancient Chinese secret. And I don't even think I don't know. I've stopped watching his show. It's played out. It's just dry. But
I've been stopped watching it, baby sister, back in the early mid 2000s. I would watch it every night, and it was nothing I never watched all the time. But occasionally, I had HBO. I would turn in and see him on there, but I was never like an avid listener or a fan of him. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not surprised. And like I said, Bill Maher is one of these white guys that likes to pose and brag about, dating black women and stuff like that. And certain segments of the black community, they also feel like that's a big bonus. So you'll hear other black men, oh yeah, well, he cool. He date black women. He like black women. He like black girls. Like, okay, and so what? What does that mean? Because he likes to date or sleep with black women, that means that he's somebody that we can put our faith in?
We the shit. The shit. Everybody want to date a black woman. Like, that ain't no big broad. Ain't no shit. We the shit.
Let me read a comment real quick. Daughter Zion has on YouTube, and shout out to my people over there on YouTube as well too. How y'all doing tonight? It says on the 2020 census there is 21 reporting Asian groups. 2 days ago I heard there's 24. We have black African American. Yang has a lot of nerves. These folks don't get to decide. Excellent point. Excellent point. And that's something else we're gonna touch up on as well too. Like I said, because this racial boxes and the ethnic things and everything else, this thing is starting to really, really pick up right now, y'all. They're getting to the point, and like I said, it's just not black Americans. Every group in this country is looking to go ahead and change how they're viewed on these census, on these forms by the American government. And they're not doing it just for the health either. They're doing this on the political ambitions they're having. How can we go ahead and we can secure more political power for our people? So that's going to be the next thing we're going to touch up on real quick. Aunt Lai, so you tried to come up here. You may have to do something. I don't know if you have an iPhone or you have an Android, because now we're able to get some of our people up here. But y'all, it's a glitch in the Google Play Store. So it's a big time glitch in the Google Play Store. I had to uninstall that. I had to put in the APK. So if you have an Android, I don't know about iPhone. I know DJ, he knows, but I know if you have an Android, you're going to have to go ahead, because that's how we got Professor up here. You're going to have to go ahead and uninstall that and get up here as well too. So, it's a different, it's just a different, I don't know what's going on with the actual Google Play Store, but yeah, they're having some major issues with that right now. DJ, I just saw you up here in your new profile, but I don't know where you at. So hopefully you'll come right back up here. I saw you requesting to speak. So let me see if I can get you back up here real quick. Okay. Yeah, I see some of our people still, like I see some of our people are still having some issues getting up here. So yeah, now hopefully DJ can come up here and he can give y'all Volvo. I sent you I don't know if you got a chance to do it or not, but I sent you a link. You may have a hard time getting up here as well too, y'all. So it's a glitch in the actual system, y'all. Y'all gonna have to go ahead and check that out as well too. So I see baby sister disconnecting. Concern Black Americans. I see you up here. Did you want to go ahead and say something real quick?
Good evening. I was supposed to have a room tonight, and I felt so I feel kind of guilty being in here because I rescheduled, but it was around this topic, a little different angle, but I just didn't want to. I didn't think I had the energy to cover it thoroughly, but definitely want people to look out for the OMB related room. But the racial boxes and what's going on with the OMB, I'll just say as ugly as it's been for the last couple of months, we're all paying attention, and that's a positive. And I think that people should really focus on, if they want to participate, emphasizing that we want a separate category, separate and apart from the diaspora, from continental Africans and Caribbeans. I think you should also, if you feel that way, you should also emphasize that we want our own ethnic designation. So that's a good general, 3 general points to make about this situation without having to get too deep into it. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm glad people are paying attention, but it's very important. It only comes around every 25 or 27 years. So obviously this is the first time we've ever participated on this level. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and touch up on that real quick as well too. So just so people can kind of get a grasp of exactly what's going on with this thing. Because like I say, even though we're talking about ourselves as Black Americans, this thing is really picking up speed nationwide with everybody. So it's kind of interesting just to see exactly how this was. Yeah, on Twitter, I know there's a big thing about what we should label ourselves or call ourselves, or what we want to be called as Black Americans. But like I say, it's going every ethnic group that you can pretty much think about almost, is having a conversation about this. This is becoming a talking point in their communities as well too. So let me go ahead and touch up on that real quick. I'm trying to see what DJ was at because he must have got.
Do you think that that's because? Why do you get the impression that it's picking up speed? I know I've seen a couple of articles. I've seen one article that's been on a couple of platforms with Naive. But I haven't really seen anything. That doesn't mean anything, but I'm just curious as to why you get that impression. And then do you think it's because we have made such a big deal about it on Twitter and it spilled over?
Well, I think what you just said, that we've made a big impression with it. I also think that you have some groups that feel that they're getting the short end of the shaft, especially when you're talking about some of these you talk about some of these like, let's take for instance some of the Asian groups and stuff. You have such a diversity amongst the Asians, and you got, based on the article I was reading, you got a certain segment of Asian people feeling like, hey, we're not really getting our recognition, just being with this wide stroke of being called an Asian compared to what we should be getting. So you got the Jewish community saying that, Jewish is just not a religion. It's an ethnicity as well too. You got a bunch of different people from the Middle East and things of that nature, questioning and stuff, the actual title that's being given to them. So I think as anything in this country that, black people that fueled it, and now it's to the point that you got a lot of people saying, well, hey, don't forget about us. You got to remember us as well too. Hey, we're not identified properly here. We're being misidentified, and that's hurting our political stance and everything that we can do as well in this country. So go ahead and let us go ahead and identify ourselves the way we see fit. You got to go ahead.
Yeah, and it's that part that I need us all to step back and like take a 30,000-foot look down onto the forest and get out of the trees and just appreciate the boldness of these immigrants, these people. Like, and I said in my comment on the OMB, I just want to give a shout out to because they feel so bold that they can just come and ask my government to recognize them while ignoring us. And that's partly us. I mean, if I was them, I'd be embarrassed, especially to be on a call with all of us over the 3 days. So, to me, we need to take that type of ownership, be more assertive about our place, about the hierarchy in this country. They have no problem with stepping over us and characterizing us as either complacent, lazy. One thing is for certain, we're typically not there in the room, and that's by design. But yeah, it's just interesting how the environment that we have created, the Ann Coulter clip about why people care about civil rights, and it's only because of Black Americans fighting for our rights forever. That concept, the concept of social justice even exists, and to just to watch all these groups just continually use our statistics, talking points. I mean, just all kinds of foul words came to mind, as I listened to each of them come up and, state their case of why they deserve to be recognized and why they should get their fair share. And I think about, all that we have put in sweat, intellectual property, and taxes, and just our general litness. So it's just crazy to me. So this is the first time we have come to our government, so it was a pretty big deal, and we just need to do more of it, and we need to, we need to be side-eyeing these other people, these other groups, and we need to, let our government know that we're side-eyeing these other people, feel that they have any level of entitlement. Not that they, our Constitution, our laws are written such that they can come to our government, but it's just the lack of respect. It's just the invisibility to me, and I guess that's why we're doing this. That is why we're doing it. I don't guess. I know that's why we're doing it.
Absolutely. And in your opinion, let me just ask you real quick. Did you I know you were just saying about how I felt about it, but do you think that that's something that's going to actually happen as well with all these other groups as well too, that they're going to go ahead and they're going to get the racial boxes changed to the way that they actually want it?
Yes, I do. I think they're going to get exactly what they want. Middle Eastern and North African, they're going to get what they want. But I also think that we will get what we want as well. I mean, the OMB its job is to recognize and respect people. I mean, I don't know if you guys have filled out any job applications lately, but they're asking you if you're gay, bisexual, non-binary. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, do I check yes? Will that increase my chances? Because goddamn, I need a box to check. But yeah, so you see you know, how that can be put. So how dare they not recognize us? So I'm not even impressed because I'm gonna like just torch some shit. So I'm confident that, you know, they are going to make these categories. We are the wrinkle, as usual. They didn't expect us to show up. They did not. I mean, come on, y'all. They had 3 days town hall. Negroes on there all 3 days, every other call. So much so, they were trying to politely say, like, we get it. But yeah, they're going to keep getting it until we get what we want. So that's their fault.
Yes, ma'am. And for those of you that don't know, Barlow, this is one of DJ's profiles right here too. So in case y'all wouldn't like, who in the hell is that up there as a co-host? That's DJ, y'all. So just give y'all a heads up, because when I first saw it, I was like, "What in the world? Like, who is that up there?" A couple days ago, like, is this some kind of troll that's up in here? But that's DJ. Go ahead, DJ. You got it.
It's me, Mario. Nah, all jokes aside, what's up, man? Everybody Newstoter up and shitting on my name. But at the end of the day, if y'all need to learn how to fix this shit and you having issues with your Twitter, hit me in the DM. You can find me on the WPI, or you can find me on my new account, King Barlord. I still got them bars. Go ahead, though.
All right. Real quick, y'all. Let me go ahead and touch up on this article, man, as well, too. And Naheem's name is up in this article. So let me just touch up on this briefly. I want to get some of our people up in here. I see some of girl Black Native is up in here as well, too. Shout out to Nap as well, too. Black Idaho. Some of you guys is up in here as well, too. No Average, how you doing? Just giving y'all a quick shout out as well, too. So let me just touch up on this really, really quick, y'all. And I'm just... Let me find it first.
Well, shout out while you're looking. Shout out to all the Black folks that showed up, and oh my God, we so smart. I was so proud of us. You know, despite everybody repping. You know, we were repping every thread of the quilt. It is what it is. I thought we did so well. I really did. I was so proud of us, and I know the ancestors were just smiling down. We were so articulate, so data-driven, and no matter what you were repping, you had all your points lined up, stayed on your time. It was great, and I think we showed very well. I think we did our people very proud.
Okay. Real quick, y'all. This is from the Defender Network. It's up in the Jumbotron, curated on the Newstoter.com platform as well, too. It says, African American Black government ponders racial boxes. Naheem Way is weary of people conflating African American and Black. Shalini Paraki, and she has an Indian name, so forgive me, wants a way for South Asian people to identify themselves differently than East Asians, with roots in places like China or Japan. And Byron Haskins wants the U.S. to toss racial and ethnic labels all together. When you set up categories that are used to place people in boxes, sometimes you miss the truth. Said Hopkins, who described himself as an African American. Wade Pahaki Haskins' voices are among more than 4,600 comments pending before the Biden administration as it contemplates updating the nation's racial and ethnic categories for the first time since 1997. There's a whole lot to consider. Some Black Americans want their ancestors' enslavement recognized how they identify. Some Jewish people believe their identity should be seen as its own ethnic category and not only a religion. The idea of revising categories for ethnic and racial identities, both in the census and in gathering demographic information between head counts, a few editorials, think tank essays, as well as thousands of written comments by individuals about how Americans should identify themselves. The White House Office of Management budget is set to decide on new classifications next year and is hosting 3 virtual town halls on the subject this week. Some conservatives question the process itself, saying that the overaching premise that Americans need more ethnic categories will only accelerate balkanization. By creating and deepening subnational identities, the government further contributes to the decline of one national American identity, wrote Mike Gonzalez, a senior fellow at the Heritage, and his personal comment posted on the OMB page seeking public input. That view contrasts sharply with those who say previous categories have overlooked nuances. This is certainly a singular movement and opportunity to greatly enhance the accuracy and completeness of data. Director of the Policy of Legislative Affairs of the NALEO Educational Fund said during a recent forum, the proposed changes would create a new category for people of Middle Eastern and North African descent, also known as the acronym MENA, who are now classified as white but say they have been routinely undercounted. The process would also combine the race and ethnic origin questions into a single query, but some advocates say the current method of asking about race and separately about ethnic origin often confuses Hispanic respondents. With the revision, the government would try to get more detailed answers on race and ethnicity by asking about the country of origin. Another proposal recommends striking from federal government forms the words Negro and Far East, now widely regarded as offensive. The terms majority and minority would also be dropped because some officials say they fail to reflect the nation's complex racial and ethnic diversity. Several Black Americans like Way, whose ancestors were enslaved, said the public comments to the OMB that they would like to be identified in the categories such as American freedmen, foundational Black Americans, or American descendants of slavery to distinguish themselves from Black immigrants or even white individuals born in Africa, as well as reflecting their ancestors' history in the U.S. Way, who is the president of the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen, which describes itself as dedicated to restoring the broken promises from Reconstruction, also recommended substituting the word population group for race. Conflating African American with Black has blurred what it means to be an African American in this country. Way, who works for a pharmaceutical company in Athens, Georgia, said in a telephone interview. Haskins, a retired government worker from Lansing, Michigan, suggested eliminating race categories like white and Black since they perpetuate deeply rooted, unjust social political constructs. Instead, he said people should be able to self-identify as they wish. When his psychologist daughter points out the difficulty of aggregating such data into something useful to address inequalities in housing or voting, or tailoring health or education programs to the needs of the community, he tells her, go crazy at it. That's what you're being paid for. You need to search for the truth and not just stay with the old categories because someone decided. This is what we decided, Haskins says. Baraka is asking the government to distinguish South Asians from East Asians. When these groups are assessed together, one loses a lot of important control that can help differentiate issues that are specific to one group and not another. The MENA community appears to be having related problems based on several comments to the OMB. Without its own category, the group's political power is diluted. People could benefit from cohesive representation, especially if identities were taken into account in drawing political districts, advocates say. It comes down to something even more personal. For a person who described himself, the Biden administration, as a 73-year-old Arab woman, when I go into a doctor's office, I do not feel they have the information necessary to understand my medical history or my culture, she said. For all the reasons I want to be counted as who I am, not as white. Jordan Steiner said ethnic categories should be expanded, to include not only men, but other groups like Jews who often regard themselves not only as members of a religious group, but an ethnic one too. Jessica Askasoy commended the proposals to expand the categories, saying she often felt limited about which boxes to check as someone of Turkish, European, and Jewish heritage. Recognizing our differences is honoring and celebrating the rich melting pot of America. The face of America is changing, and this initiative is for the progress in recognizing that. So, like I said, you got a bunch of people people right now that's seeing this right here. And like I say, this thing started off, a lot of it was pushed by Black people, but you got a lot of people. And what we said, we broke it down. What we were saying about concern that, hey, this is all based off of political power. People want to be able to, and no matter what group they are, they want to make sure that their group is getting a certain level of political clout, political power. They want to be able to go ahead and assert themselves and not see things diluted, for the same way that a lot of Black Americans in this country feel like, hey, our specific group, for those that's descendants of chattel slavery, are actually seeing their actual reach and power in this country being diluted. So you're seeing that with a bunch of different groups as well. Go ahead, DJ.
Yeah, I'll never forget. One day I went to a ENT doctor, right, ear, nose, and throat, for those who don't know. And the ethnic boxes, what you want to put down as far as your race classification. So you see all these, boxes. Something. I'm gonna just write I'm American in here. What's messing with the receptionist? Cross that out and put checked off black. And like I said, hold up a minute. I didn't ask you to change my ethnicity status. Man, she got scared as hell because I went off on that shit. Yo, you do realize that's illegal, right? So if I could classify what I want to classify as. So why would you try to make me something that I didn't ask you to classify me as? So when I thought about that shit, I said, yo, this is gonna be a problem in the future. Now we here, yo.
What did she classify you as?
She checked off that I was black African American, but I just wrote in the other box that said I'm American. See that?
Now on some of these forms,
trying to be extra. That's why we're in this position.
Now like on some of the forms, they say like you don't have to tell them even what you are. Like they say, well, if you don't want to tell them, you don't have to say. So sometimes people don't even put on what they actually are. Even sometimes.
Well, I will say that at this point, ever since we've gone to self-identification, we should all know, the census is definitely not criteria for reparation. So please get that out of your head. If you can self-identify as a woman when you're a man, come on. So let's divorce ourselves from those two things. But it's important that people get to identify, but at the end of the day, they want to count how many people are here. And they want to put you in whatever bucket. And that's just the way things are done. But again, it just brings me back, given who we are and who everyone else is. I just find it so, sadly ironic to see these people like with a straight face, like they have some, like, what do we owe them? We don't owe them shit. Why are you here? Why are you taking up time on our town hall? Like, why are you here? That's the way I felt. I wish more of us felt like that.
Real quick, I want to read a comment from Aunt Lai. I'm not sure if Aunt Lai says she may not be in the space anymore, but she left this comment here, and I want to read this real quick. She says, "Black people should not be completing the census at all. Why do we want them to count us when they don't want us to count? Nope. Do not complete any form. We are freedmen. That's what we should be called." Okay, so Aunt Lai says, "Do not complete any forms at all." I guess so. I had to put that up there real quick. Let me read another comment from Tansy Flakes. "We mostly need to side-eye the black politicians for keeping us in this situation to where immigrants can step over us. These immigrants are self-interested as well as the politicians pushing their issues. So let's point the finger at the right people." Always interesting to hear like the people in the comments and stuff like that. I do like reading the comments too. So like a lot of our people that don't actually like to come into spaces, but that don't like to speak, I always look forward to actually reading the comments either here or even a few we get on YouTube. Our YouTube following it isn't anywhere as big as over here. So, but I do like reading the actual comments. I found that very interesting. Do you guys feel that we should not complete the census forms as well too, that we should leave that alone? That's an interesting perspective that Aunt Lai put in there. Like I say, she's having issues getting up here too. So she, even if she was in the space, she wouldn't be able to come up here and speak because she's having some technical issues with her phone as well as trying to get up here and speak as well too. But I do find that very interesting. I also find this interesting as well too. We see the back and forth just on Twitter about what's going on with black people and stuff and what we should call ourselves. Should it be Negro? Should it be this? Should it be that? Should it be this? I would like to know exactly, are some of these other groups having the same issues that we're having in terms of, finding an identity or finding a name to call themselves? Or is this just something that's just related strictly to black people? We seem to have quite the issue not being able to settle on one particular name. We got 3, 4, 5, 6 different names being floated out there. So I wonder, are you having this issue in the Asian community? Are you having this issue with the Middle Easterners and stuff like that, or the Latinos or Hispanics that we're having right here on Twitter with black people? I can't say that outside of Twitter that you're having those issues with, because a lot of black people, if you ask them some of the stuff that we talk about, they look at you like you're from Mars or something. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was talking to some people I know about the San Francisco reparation thing. And man, they was like I was talking French or something. They didn't understand what the hell I was talking. They're like, reparations, $5 million. Where's this going on at? What they talking about giving them 5 million? I was like, for reparations. They were like, oh, like yeah, I vaguely heard something about that, but you could tell they didn't know anything about what I was saying. So I'm just kind of curious to know, are these other groups having these same issues to the point that, people are really, really, it's become a real problematic situation with folks just when trying to talk about something that could help us. I'm wondering that. Blueberry Muffin looks like Blueberry. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for letting me onto the stage. I did eavesdrop, interlope, spy, or whatever you want to call it, on some other groups that are talking about the reparations for Black folks. If they weren't so dead serious, it would be almost comical how much these people have worked themselves into a lather. Okay. With the Asians, I'm going to be just blunt with you. The Asians don't want Black folks to have a platform to discuss reparations. The two spaces that I listened in on, I couldn't tell if they were white supremacists or Asians, whether they were South Asians or Asians of Japanese or Chinese heritage, Far East, whatever. The strategy that they used during the OMB is a similar strategy that I've seen at town halls, local town halls where I live, is to take over the conversation. They have all of their folks in with specific points to take away from the reparations discussion. What I've gleaned in the few discussions that I've seen on the Asian side is they don't think Black folks deserve reparations. They don't see that our claim is valid at all for any reason. They think that we just are looking for another handout, so to speak. There were a lot of the welfare queen trope comments. A lot of the comments directed towards Black people don't know how to manage themselves, let alone manage money. What are they going to do? Spend it up on XYZ? Similar comments we've heard from, let's say, like Senator Joe Manchin, those kind of comments, where they think that we're just going to spend it on all of these sundry vices. I think they're mad. Some of the Asians are mad because Black folks have run them out of specific communities. Los Angeles. So when you're having to deal with folks coming at it from that angle, that lets you see how folks who have benefited from white supremacy, whether they're adjacent to white supremacy or they actually believe that they are white and they can look down upon us. That was very, very, I don't want to say scary because a lot of people understand that attitude, but it was more eye-opening than anything else. With the Latinos, I'm just going to say this with Latinos. The reason why a lot of them want to go by national origin is this. There are folks that the United States class as Latino, but they don't consider themselves Latino by the U.S. definition. Like, say, people from Argentina and Chile who do have European ancestry. We're talking their folks came directly from Europe and they just changed geographic borders. They don't want to be included in the Latino definition. Then you have a lot of Afro-Latinos who are looking at the situation like, we ain't Black, we ain't white, our culture doesn't fit in this checkbox, so we're going to go to our own culture. And I look at that as, why did you come to the United States? If you are part of the United States culture and that's with which you identify, why are you going to go back to your national origin when you have been here, 3-4 generations? Another another thing that I saw in some rooms, especially with the MENA, and this also applies to Jewish Americans, just from my observation alone. Now with the, especially with Muslims, who've always checked that they're white. Now white people see them as Muslims, as the conspicuous other. Yeah, you're white, but you ain't white like us, or white European kind of. Some of the Muslims are saying, well, now we need to delineate or separate or self-identify with, we're from these, like Libya or Egypt or things like that now. And that is nothing but backlash from getting kicked around a couple of decades. And then with the Jewish Americans, I stay out of that simply because from my vantage point, most of the Jewish Americans with whom I've come into contact identify white first and white only. You don't know that they're Jewish unless you see them coming in and out of a synagogue or you know them personally. So with that situation, I let that go because, again, from my vantage point that I've known, most of the Jewish Americans consider themselves as white first and white only. The whole idea behind religion, that's something else. And that's all I wanted to say.
Real quick, Blueberry, before you leave, let me ask you this right here. As I ask concern, what's your beliefs? Do you think that these groups, the MENA and the all these other groups, that the South Asians and this and that, do you believe that they're going to actually be able to get these boxes turned the way that they want them?
Yes, but I also know that we'll get our boxes because we've been on the forefront for self-advocacy for decades. They're just following our lead.
Okay, agreed. I think the biggest thing for us though is just going to be trying to narrow it down, and I mean that seems like I think that's just going to be the biggest issue at this point in time right here. To me, like I said, just in my lifetime, Black and African American have been the two terms that we've been called. So, I can't. The Negro, we weren't referred to as Negroes from the time I was born, but and your family and stuff, joking around and stuff, your cousins and sisters, they like, hey, Negro, please, and Negro, if you don't, so you were called a Negro and stuff by your own people or whatever, like I say, in a joking manner, loving manner, whatever. But in my lifetime, the only two terms I've ever heard was Black American and African American, and it'll be interesting to see exactly which way we take this thing, how this thing changes. Go ahead, Blueberry.
I'm with you about the Negro. Most of my family members, older adults, never had a problem with the term Negro because that was how things were. Both of my parents have Negro. Well, one of my parents has Negro on their birth certificate. The other one has color. So, and then my oldest siblings had Negro on there, but after 1970, that changed from Negro to Black. So I'm well aware of that. And in a lot of states after 1970, Black was put on all the check boxes. I didn't really see too much African American until I moved from the eastern part to the western part of the country. And I always believed that the push for African American was to, I guess, incorporate Black immigrants from African countries to make them feel better, because there's this, a lot of the African immigrants think that Negro means slave and slave means subservience, and they didn't want to identify with that. So when African American was proposed sometime in the 80s, that was to take away from the idea of, okay, you're considered inferior in this country. And I disagreed with that premise, because if you grew up with Negro, and there's a lot of organizations, United Negro College Fund, And a lot of the cultural everything that this country was built upon had Negro in it, and that is a source of pride, especially for older adults. And you're going to take that and remove that to accommodate people who have problems with the Negro identity. I think that is undermining. I was one of the few people that was angry at Obama and Grace Ming, that's the New York representative, and who, basically paper genocided us for political gain only. She was taking away our cultural heritage and our cultural rights to self-identify. That's self-determination. No politician can take that away from any group of people. And in my opinion, that's what started the conversations even more ardently since 2010 about who we are as Black Americans, and even further debates. And I think politically, wherever you stand, that when you take away self-determination and self-empowerment from Black Americans, that's where you're going to get pushed back. It's more than hackles raised on Twitter. You're talking about a cultural identity, a cultural heritage, and a cultural legacy. I'll yield the mic.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Blueberry. Like I say, at the time that I came in, I know you were saying in the 70s, I guess at 70 it changed or whatever. By the time I came, we weren't identifying as Negro, but even though you knew when they said Negro, they were talking about Black. Like you said, you had the United Negro College Fund. They used to come on every year, and that was like a big thing in my house. We always watched United Negro College Fund. Lou Rawls up there. We'd always watch it. My parents would sometimes donate to it and stuff like that, and when they could, and try to support Black people. So the word Negro, like I said, it was around, and like I say, jokingly, your family would say Negro this or Negro that or whatever. And even some of the older shows that we used to watch in syndication from the 70s and the 80s and stuff, late 80s and stuff, we would watch the Good Times and stuff like that, things that came out, before I was born. But you watch it and you hear them say Negro please, or the Jeffersons or whatever. So, like I say, it was always something that was around. When I came, it was just, people just said Black. They were like, oh, I'm Black American. I'm just Black even. They didn't even say Black American, but you identified as a Black American, but you were just Black. So I don't have an issue with Negro. I've seen so many different ways that they tried to phrase that people trying to phrase it. They're saying the American Negro and American Freedman Negro and, this type of Negro, whatever. Like I said, to me, and I'm just going to be real, I do believe that you should have some kind of, you should have some kind of, I don't know if the correct word is cutoff point, but you should have a way of differentiating, if these other groups were to differentiate as well too, I see definitely nothing wrong with, on the actual form, you got Black. If you still, let's say we kept Black American and you had Black American, you had Caribbean Black, and you had African Black or something. You had something, some way of differentiating or whatever. You had diaspora or something like that, some way to differentiate, because at this point in time, and that's what every group is saying right now, all of them, the Asians, and I always thought this was crazy the way they did Asia, because Asia is so big, and yet you just lumped up so many different people into that continent. I don't like, it's Asia. When I think of Asia, you used to think of like Orientals, and I know that's not even a politically correct term to say, but now you got Indians lumped in, and you got this group lumped in, and I mean, so it's just, to me, it's crazy. I don't have an issue with a bunch of different people differentiating, as long as we go ahead and we do what we need to go ahead and do as well too. And I think it is high time for that, and I think you will see that. To what extent? Hopefully, it's not to the point where you got people up here just going back and forth, because once it gets settled, it's going to be settled for a minute. So whether you like it or you love it or you hate it, it's going to be what it's going to be. until the next time they come and actually change it. So I know they're putting pressure on the Biden administration, and the Biden administration. And this is the one thing here. I don't think black people will fold. Like, they fold on so many different things, but black people are not going to let them go ahead and change the actual ethnic groups or the ethnic boxes for all these other groups and keep it the same for black people in this country. They're not just going to let you say black or African American. Like, you're going to have to be more specific, I think, at this point in time. If not, then yeah, you're gonna really draw a major pushback to the Biden administration. Anybody else up in the space too as well? Y'all come on up here if y'all want to speak as well too, because like I said, we're just showing you exactly how many different people this is actually affecting as well too. And you can also, if you guys want to, you can always go back to the Bill Maher article that we touched up on as well too. But we're just trying to see exactly the mindset of people, and you got so many different groups, even though that we're thinking about ourselves first and foremost, exactly how we want to go ahead and set things up. But you have a bunch of different other groups as well too. And what's the and Blueberry, let me ask you real quick, because you were good and you did a great job of actually pointing to the actual in some of these rooms and these spaces. You gave us your opinion on a lot of what the Asians and the Jewish community and the Middle Easterners and how they felt about black people in terms of the reparations, also how they felt about black people in terms of trying to go ahead with the racial boxes and move forward. Let me ask you a quick question. What is the actual and I don't know if and that's only if what is the actual mindset in terms of other black people, the non-black Americans, and those that they might even be a first or second generation black person in this country? What's the actual mindset of some of the black people from the Caribbean and Africa, the African diaspora, the black diaspora, however you want to call it? What's their mindset in terms of black Americans looking to go ahead and kind of differentiate themselves from the pack?
Thank you. Feel free to jump in. Let me start. First of all, the black immigrants, irrespective of wherever in the diaspora, look at being identified as black as something political. You have to keep in mind, most of the black diaspora couldn't come to the United States until the 1970s, until the 1980s. Okay, you had three big waves in the 70s, the 80s, and in the 90s. And most of the folks who came to the United States during those periods of time, their historical and political reference points are only beginning in the 1960s. Because they went to majority white schools and got majority white history lessons, they don't know about our history because they're not around us. And the few who are in proximity with us, they do learn some cultural aspect, but they don't know that it was Stokely Carmichael who, in the 1960s, who put out Black Power. They don't know what that meant from the cultural aspect. They only hear snippets from the socio-political if they went to college somewhere, okay? But that's only a handful. I'm in an area where most of the people who, if they do identify as black, they're coming from Somalia, Ethiopia, and Eritrea. So when they look at American blacks, Negroes, if you will, they're looking down on us as slaves. Really. So when they get amongst, their rooms and stuff, how can we separate ourselves because we were not slaves? That's the mentality. Okay? Then you have Caribbean blacks, okay, who did come from slavery, but they're not from American slavery. And I think a lot of the misunderstanding when you do have blacks from the Caribbean comes from when you're immigrating from another country that had its own slavery system, under the yoke of their colonial oppressors, whether it was Britain, France, Spain, Portugal, or the Netherlands. And then they come to another country where it was British subject and then later American white supremacists, they don't know how to culturally respond to that. They think, oh, well, we're in the United States and we don't have to worry about, the complexities of the legacy of slavery. Whereas because Black Americans here, we do know and we do teach and we do uphold our cultural values of self-empowerment and self-determination, because we would allow ourselves to be subjugated completely. When we have conversations with Caribbean Blacks, there's a disconnect. There's this cacophony, if you will, this loud noise, where it becomes theater of the oppressed, okay? And I've seen that evolution not just in Twitter spaces or in other spaces, if you will, but I've seen that in real life conversations where, and I'm not picking on anybody who's of Dominican heritage or anything like that. I just want to point out one of the conflicts between Dominicans and Puerto Ricans who are considered Caribbean and their legacies of slavery is that when they're here stateside, they don't want to talk about slavery. They don't want to talk about the divide and conquer. They don't want to talk about the different racial categories as it affects them, okay? And then you do have a small ethnic group of Black folks who do come from Europe who laugh at everybody and just say this: we come from Europe. We were born and raised in Europe. Does that make us European? No, because we have black skin. So we're categorized as African, even though my great-grandparents have lived in whatever European country. Okay? And so you have some folks who, from Europe, who are of African heritage and African descent, who think this is a frivolous discussion, because why are we having discussions like this when supposedly the United States is a melting pot and supposedly we're not supposed to look at each other by, racial and ethnic groups? And then they just come back and say, well, look at it this way. You know your culture, you know your heritage, and you know your lineage, if you want to call it that. Why are you allowing other people to call your shots for you?
All right, you made a great point there. Real quick, let me go ahead and get you guys up in the Jumbotron. Up in the Jumbotron, we have the Newstoter YouTube channel as well as the actual newsletter. Please go ahead while we're in this space right now. Go ahead and subscribe to the actual YouTube channel. You can do that while you're listening to the Twitter space right now. All you got to do is click up there. Let me see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's a fourth one to the right. Click to the fourth one on the right, go in there and go ahead and go right to YouTube while we're in the actual YouTube space, and subscribe to the YouTube channel right now. If you can help us grow, we need to get more subscribers. We need more subscribers on YouTube. So please go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel right now. Also in the Jumbotron is the actual Newstoter Cash app. The Cash app is $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, largest Black American-owned media news curation platform today in America. You can support us or donate if you like. Once again, that is $Newstoter, $Newstoter. If you do not have an actual Cash app, we have the Venmo and PayPal up in the Jumbotron as well. So we have the PayPal, and the Venmo up in the actual Jumbotron. But once again, the actual Cash app is $Newstoter. If you're on YouTube, guys, those links are up in the actual description as well too. DJ, I know you had your hand up, and she Blueberry, she was making some very poignant points right there. I mean, I have to go ahead and give her credit. She was speaking about the actual the Black people over there in Europe as well too, and I guess they're kind of like the forgotten man, the odd man out, but they do understand the reason that a lot of Black Americans are trying to differentiate is simply for the fact too that if you're going to do the reparation thing and it's going to be lineage based, you have to go ahead and you have to go ahead and say who you are and exactly how long you've been in this country and your actual roots. So you can't just make it an all inclusive thing if you're going to actually do reparations based on actual slavery. chattel slavery in America. And so in America, you have to go ahead and be specific about it as much as possible and pinpoint the actual people who are affected by it. So let me go ahead real quick because DJ, I know you had your hand up. Go ahead.
The Sister Blueberry was definitely cooking. So basically the other day, I do like little Uber Lyft type rides, personal people, somebody called me, hey, come pick me up, whatever. So I get a call from the African homie down the block, hey, yo, go pick my cousin up from the train station. So I picked the brother up, you know what I'm saying, he from Tanzania. And he asked me questions like, hey, yo, what's up with the black people here, what happened, what's going on, you know what I mean? Hey, well, look, Jim Crow, Emmett Till, reparations, you know what I'm saying? And then he's like, he asked me questions about it. I said, listen, don't listen to me. Pull out your phone and use your Google and start looking at this stuff. So he looked up Emmett Till. He was shocked, yo. He just couldn't believe what happened to him, his face and what these white crackers did to our ancestor Emmett, you know what I mean? So these folks really don't be knowing because they don't, not to say they don't care to know, it's just they don't have a need to know because it's not their plight. So it's really that simple, and a lot of them shouldn't get mad when we talk about this reparation stuff. It's not your plight. It's not the same suffrage. And even if it is, you have a country of origin. We're American, you're Jamaican, you're Congolese, you're Haitian, you're Trinidadian, you're Tobago, wherever you're from, you know what I mean? You have to go to your consulate government of origin at this point, you know what I mean, in the game and say, hey, I want to sue the United States government for slavery, reparations, all this other stuff, just like we're doing it now. So if you help us with our plight, what you think we're going to do when it's time to get your check? Queen dead, so you already saw with the Jamaicans how they was booing Meghan Markle and Prince Harry or whatever his name is, you know what I'm saying, and screaming reparations down there in Jamaica. So you already know what time it is, Jamaican man, Rasta man, you know what I'm saying? Reparations, you already know what time it is, 1804, 80 man. Hey, reparations. Y'all fighting each other down there when y'all should be coming together to take that island over and start anew, you know what I'm saying? Real shit, you know what I mean? There's a lot of shit going on over in Africa, but hey, we can't go over to the Congo and say, hey, look, I demand X amount of money for what King Leopold did to the Congolese people, chopping off their hands, their feet, and making, and the Belgian people to this day, they make little chocolate hand figures and little feet figures out of that, and people eat that shit, while the actual cocoa itself is still being exported from, Africa. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. We're going to have to start coming together, not just a quarter with each other, but our diaspora folks too, and start playing up here on this Twitter and just get busy with the hell we need to do. So a lot of the folks don't know when they come from abroad what really happened here in this country. And a lot of them, like Burna Boy, who's a African coon, you know what I'm saying, don't even know what happened in his own country, in Ghana and all the shit they go through. So you need to mute his mic and start actually taking some of that money that you made off Black American culture and put it towards the reparations, and I yield there.
Yeah, you was on point there, DJ. Blueberry, you made an interesting point. I want to go back and say, now you were saying when and I guess I don't know if this was the first migration when you started having some of the actual immigrants coming to this country, Black immigrants. You were saying that they originally did not live around Black people. What you're trying to say?
Oh, okay. What happened was it was in 1965 where the government lifted the ban on and quotas on accepting African immigrants and Black immigrants from the Caribbean. And and then you had that wave in the 60s, then another wave in the early 80s, and then a bigger wave in the 90s because of folks coming in from East Africa. So when these folks resettled in areas throughout the United States, I'm just going to use the city in which I live right now because I work for nonprofits that help resettlement of mostly African refugees, some Afghan and some Syrian refugees. When it came to resettling folks from Ethiopia and Eritrea, they resettled them in former Black neighborhoods because it was a social cultural thing where white people were used to seeing Black people in certain areas. But the white people never really educated the newcomers onto why they chose to settle Eritreans, Somalians, and Ethiopians in black areas. They just thought, oh, okay, we're here in the United States. We can do the same thing as white people, and we don't have to worry about other black people. And they used terms for slave, and a lot of them were racial slurs for black slaves. And when they got over here and got culturally adjusted, they didn't like the treatment that they received. And it was more than culture shock. It was the realization, you the new niggas now, for lack of a better term. And there was a lot of resentment towards other black Americans or black folks who've been in this country for generations, centuries, really. And that resentment played itself out, okay, in the neighborhoods. Looking for, when you're advocating for tangibles and other resources, whether it's housing, social services in particular, and schooling at the local level, the resentment was there. The local black folks were like, how the hell you just got off the damn boat or off the plane or whatever, and you leapfrog ahead of us, and our tax dollars are supporting you guys, and you're not putting in with us. But you call yourselves us. And then they found out, no, we're not black. We're not you. You see that dichotomy there? And then I'm just talking about just local stuff. Again, most of the people who came here in the 80s and 90s in particular, most of you are immigrants from African countries who came here in the 80s and 90s, they went to white schools. So they only learn the white side of history, and they don't come into contact very often with regular black Americans who can tell them X, Y, and Z. And so when it comes to, I guess you could talk about, when it comes to discussions on reparations, 100% are clueless.
All right. Thank you, sister. Queen B, I see you up in the space. How you doing tonight? Go ahead and unmute your mic. Are you there, Queen B?
Give me a second. Somebody else can go ahead of me.
Okay. I don't see any other hands up, but we'll go ahead and we'll get back to you on that one. Okay. I don't see anybody hand up. You made some good points there. Like I say, once again, about the actual relationship. And my thing is this right here. If these people feel this way, a lot of, and that's not to say all of the actual, all of the black immigrants feel that way. But if you do feel that way, if you're saying that, hey, I'm not these people, I have a whole nother ethnic history and this and that, you should have no problem with black Americans sitting up here and saying that, hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to be specific about how we're going to do things, that we're going to go ahead and we're going to, not isolate ourselves, but we're just going to go ahead the same way you guys have your flags from whatever country you come from, and you show, well, hey, I'm here in Florida, so I see all the flags. I see Puerto Rican flags, I see Haitian flags, you name it, I see them all. So, and I'm not even in South Florida. So in South Florida, you see it all day, every day. So if you can see those flags like that, then you shouldn't have an issue with a black American saying, hey, you know what? Obviously, you're proud of your heritage. You're proud of your history. I'm also proud of my heritage. I'm also proud of my history as well, too. So let me go ahead and be sincere about it and say, you know what? This is what I am. I am different than the other groups of black people, just like they're letting me know that, hey, they're different than the rest of other black people over here as well, too. So, Queen B, are you ready? Trouble?
Thank you for being
patient
with me.
Okay, go ahead.
Newstoter. Yep. Can y'all hear?
Yeah, it seemed like he was kind of getting choppy for a second. Can you hear me?
Hey, is that better?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, can you hear me? I think you may have some. Can you hear me right now? I think you may have to come back in and come back out again, Queen, because you may be having some issues with your connection. Maybe. Yeah, I think you may want to go.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. Trouble, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, Newstoter, Ray, Professor, everybody, shout out to the group.
What's up?
Not a whole lot. I'm just going to jump in right quick and then go back down to listener. It's good to see the sister Lenegris up in the cut. Blueberry. It's been a long time since I've been in a space with this sister, and she is always a wealth of knowledge and information. And I just love to hear her speak. So I hate to even get up on the stage behind that one right there. So I'm going to circle back around to the Bill Maher situation. Bill Maher is like any of these other crackers out here. And to a degree, I'm glad that him and other liberals come up and speak their mind on the subject of reparations, because I want our people to start getting into a place where we stop seeing red and blue as separate entities and separate parties and start realizing that they're white, and they all speak with a collective mind and a collective thought against the American Negro. So anything they're going to be against. I wouldn't care if they said they were going to give us $2. They'd still be crying about the little home $2. So Bill Maher is a non-factor, just like we would look at somebody in the Republican Party as being a non-factor. And I want them all to keep opening up their mouth. Even Andrew Yang. Yang has been a fraud from the beginning, and I've been waiting for him to just go ahead and fully out himself as the white supremacist and Asian form that he is. You know, I've never liked Gang. And I know a lot of people jumped on that train when he was offering the universal income, but that was a grift because he knew it wasn't going to work or go down the way he said it was. They say a lot of things to try to get people's interest in their ears to get us to sign on to who they are. But eventually, especially when they don't get into the positions that they're running for, the true colors come out. And so I enjoy all of the true colors finally spilling on out, you know. The new racial, ethnic bosses, I really don't have a whole lot more to add to that conversation. I've always been kind of, I'm glad that our people are calling in and making their voices heard, and we actually get a say this time around. I wish people would, leave the Twitter jibber jabber out of the calls when they come up to speak on it, because it does us a disservice. What we should be doing is holding spaces together to get a collective voice of what to say when we get on there. Go on to the OMB and speak your mind for what you want. Make your comments for the name or ethnic desires that you choose, and don't throw salt on the rest of them, because they're all relevant. We are all the same people. I don't care if you say Negro, Freedman, the other hashtags, or whatever. That's all the same thing. So champion what you want and stop throwing salt, because no other group is doing that. And if they are, who cares? We're not them. We're working to get to a destination for our people, and that should be the ultimate goal. And that's all I got. And you all have a good evening and take care. And I'm gonna drop back down to listening.
All right, thank you, Trouble, for coming up. Appreciate it, and you have a good Sunday as well, too. Queen B, let's see, check your connection right now.
Good evening, Newstoter. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. How you doing?
Okay. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. Hello, DJ. DJ with another.
What's up?
Okay. Anyway, so I just wanted to speak and I'm really glad about the delineation because to me it's just been a problem with this plot, especially when some of ours from the diaspora who are
Queen B, I think Queen B, can you hear me?
Yes.
I think you're starting to break up a little bit again. Yeah, I can hear you, but you're starting to kind of get choppy at times. Go ahead and see if you can speak some more. But you were speaking fine, but then it starts getting choppy at times. Okay, she may be disconnected.
Better. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's just when you speak, sometimes it's kind of slowly going in and out at times. But go ahead and speak.
I'm glad about the delineation because of this blackness that we have right. Brothers and sisters from the diaspora, national black platforms, or they're able to make it to these national platforms, and they're out there speaking because they're claiming to be us. So you have these people that are on the news, and then they may say, "Oh, well, black." You know what I'm saying? Like the Candace Owens, those type are not us. They don't have, but they're out there speaking. And so I'm really glad.
Yeah, Queen B.
In the direction.
Queen B, can you? Because it's coming in and out at times as you speak right now. Like you're speaking clear, and then it'll go out, and then it'll come back in. It must be something. It might be something with your connection, because you're speaking fine 1 second, and then it like the very next few words, it'll kind of get choppy. It come in and out, and then we'll hear you back again, and you'll come in and out. So it's kind of getting choppy at times with you. I would say maybe try. Okay,
well, I'll land. I guess it's just I'll land and be maybe I'll try maybe what do they call it looting and seeing what happens.
Okay.
I'll try.
No problem. I know you. Like I say, it started off fine. Everything was okay, and then it just kind of started coming and going and kind of sliding back and forth or whatever. So like I said, these spaces lately they've been that way as well too. So DJ, I see you back up here. Were you having some issues with the connection too, or you just disconnected?
Kick me right on now into the shadow realm. No lock.
Yeah, it's still not to the point that it needs to be with this app here, man. It's still just back and forth, in and out and whatnot as well too. So I see some of our other people down here in the listeners. If you guys want to come on up here and speak, because we're not going to hold a long space tonight. For those that want to speak, we're going to allow you to come up here and speak. For those that don't, we understand that as well too. But we're not going to keep people long on this Sunday night. We wanted to hear what people got to say. But if people don't have anything that they want to say or share, we respect that as well too. So we're not going to like I said, we're not going to keep people forever up in the space as well, too. Ray, what's going on? Because I know you was having a little bit of issues. You there?
Yeah, bro. I'm just kicked back listening. I heard everybody going tonight.
Oh, chilling. Yeah, everybody pretty much just relaxing for the most part, man. We just been talking about Bill Maher and talking about these racial boxes and stuff that it looks like you're gonna across the board, like not only impacting black people in this country, but also impacting other groups as well. Across the board, it looks like in 2024, I would say that this thing looks like it's going to go through. So it's going to be interesting to see the aftermath of once this thing actually kicks in, and all the groups that saying that they need better representation and they need better identity and stuff like that. It's going to be interesting to see exactly how this thing is actually going to play out as well too. So that I just I kind of want to see that. You already got to me enough racial groups in here, but when you start talking about the ethnicities, I can understand that. But hopefully we won't get 6 or 7 new racial groups up in this country as well too, to dilute it even more than what it already is. Professor, did you have anything that you wanted to say real quick?
No, I'll just say a good night to everybody, and I hope everybody has a wonderful week.
All righty.
Hey, I think Sister Bibi was trying to come up before or whatever. I see she left a comment down here.
Okay, let me see if I can get her to come up. I'm gonna see if I can send her an invite, and I'm sending the invite, but ain't nothing happening. Like it's not even showing that I'm sending the invite. So
yeah, she wants you to
Oh, okay. Go ahead and read it real quick. You see it?
Yeah, it says, I really believe that the checkbox white is not going to be popping anymore. See, it is no longer a come up using that using that hashtag American. I guess it's a connection that's shameful. I am white American. Say it 3 times, make the say it feel icky. Yeah, I feel you on that. You can't check that box no more. You know what I mean? Because everything about to change.
Real talk, man. Well, I guess on that note, y'all, I mean, since nobody else wants to speak, we're not gonna keep anybody any longer than they need to be kept up in here. So come check us out tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Newstoter Twitter space will be back in effect Monday through Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Y'all make sure y'all click the notifications, not only for the Twitter spaces, but for all the content that comes out on a daily basis as well, too. If you want to stay informed, go ahead and make sure you click the notifications as well, too. Make sure you guys go to YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Once again, subscribe to the YouTube channel. For those on YouTube, go ahead and share this, like, and go ahead and share this this video out tonight. And for those, like I say, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel as well as a newsletter, and also if you can support us on Cash App, that is $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest Black-owned, Black American news curation platform today in America. Once again, that is $Newstoter. And on that note, y'all, we're going to go ahead and end this space for the night. So you guys have a great Sunday. You enjoy yourself, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Peace, peace.
Peace.